When did you realize that you're dating an idiot? Preheats the microwave. The night I said that I thought I smelled gas, and they grabbed a lighter and struck it without hesitation. When kids egged his car and he thought the best way to get the egg off was to use steel wool. She refused to pay taxes, have a bank account, or pay for public transit. She told me I change my name every few years so they can't find me. Like, she'd go to the government and change her name. Legally. So the government couldn't find her. We broke up for other reasons, but this was the first red flag. Where does the sun go at night? I was dumbfounded. She didn't know that yogurt and pudding were not the same thing. She thought it was like how the British call fries chips. She had been eating pudding and granola for breakfast for months and congratulating herself for being so healthy. She also baked baby Jesus a birthday cake on Christmas, lit a candle and took it outside. When the wind blew the candle out, she was convinced it Jesus that blew it out. She kept stating the big revelation of her story with Lord and behold instead of lo and behold. I told her she was using the wrong word, but I was the idiot because you behold the Lord. Anyways, Lord and behold she fucked 5 other dudes, so we're on a more than temporary break. My wife would bring stuff home that said refrigerate after opening, open it, and put it in the refrigerator. Red heart hash. We were talking about dinosaurs and he was shocked to hear they were real. Then he proceeded to ask me if they really breathed fire. He thought dinosaurs and dragons were the same thing. One day they looked at me and said we should make a trip to New York. I said I think that would be fun but we really don't have the money to fly there right now. It's not that far. We lived in Portland, Oregon at the time. New York is next to Canada, and Canada is just past Washington. It can't be that far away. She didn't understand that you actually have to pay what you spent on credit cards. Like the credit amount she had was supposed to be her monthly limit that just resets sparkles each month. She hasn't noticed yet. My ex wanted to start a business making supplies for baby showers. Her business plan was to sell everything below cost to increase sales. After I had explained numerous times that you cannot profit from a business that will inevitably lose money, her reply was that I was the idiot because if she sold them cheap it would drum up more business and she would sell more that way. He could not find our country on Europe's map. The countries were written in bold, and the capitals too. When she asked me, have you ever had your hair set on fire? And then lit my hair on fire. We done. She told me Apple Music was bullshit because it only had covers of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, and not the original. When she told me she was a flat earth person. The day I learned that the Underground Railroad was not, in fact, a literal underground railroad. My ex-wife. The doctor said her test came back positive. She said, does that mean I'm not pregnant? I knew at that moment I was in for a long ride. Stacking cups. In the dishwasher. The day I told my girlfriend I think I broke my toe and her solution was to yank on it with all her might. It was gout. She got thrown out from a bar and nearly arrested because another woman complimented my shirt and she was convinced that meant she wanted to bang me. The Pacific Ocean. Flat earther. I'm going to throw myself under the bus here because I think it's funny, but I used to think horns in cars only had so much air to use, so you had to use your horn sparingly and only when you really needed it or it would run out. I feel like someone had to have told me this while growing up, faced with tears of joy. When I overheard her complaining I was too worried about money after she financed a $30,000 car with an insane interest rate while making $15 an hour. The fool would bang on my dashboard and scream the name of a certain restaurant whenever I drove past it. After almost getting into a wreck twice, I asked him why he was trying to kill us. He said he did it because it was his thing. He never rode in my car again. When she told me she doesn't believe in so-called professionals. They're just normal everyday people like me. What more could they know? She was my daddy's a heart surgeon, so I'm basically one also type chicks. Every few months or so I reflect on how grateful I am that she never got pregnant. Doing a fun fact about me icebreaker in a group, and his was I've never read a book. He had a tattoo that said diabetic on his right wrist. I thought it was so if something happened, EMS knew. Nope. It was so whenever he went to eat he would remember he was diabetic. I gave my girlfriend a gift, a box with something in it, and after she opened it and saw what it was, I told her to check it again, because it's gone. I don't know why I said that. I think I was joking to confuse her or be silly or something. But without opening the box, the gift was still in there. She started screaming and ran to the other side of the room, believing that I had just performed dark magic or something. She later told me that she believed I was a witch or a demon when I told her that I made it disappear. He thought you absorb a gallon of water when you shower face with tears of joy, so he didn't need to drink water. One night he turned to me and said, "You're a bit of a scientist. I was taking biology in high school." He was in college for music. "Can you explain how I can take frozen yogurt from the freezer, put it in the fridge, and it melts?" And I, already concerned, replied, "Well, the fridge is warmer, it's not cold enough to keep it frozen." And he asked, "But it's still cold?" And I had to explain that there are different levels of cold. Somewhere along the way I said cold is the absence of heat like darkness is the absence of light, and he was so by that. An ex once asked, "In all sincerity, do people who speak other languages think in English?" What? Well, all my thoughts are in English, and I assume we all think the same way. We were 22 years old. This was not a keeper. She needed to move for work and I didn't. When my ex asked me where they grew spaghetti. We were having an argument, although I can't remember what about, when I very calmly asked him to explain what made him think that, and he said, "I hate arguing with you because you always make me realize I'm wrong." When she was choosing random pills from the blister of a 21 active 7 placebo contraceptive, instead of following the arrows on the package. She tried to explain that Young Living essential oils is not an MLM scheme. My now husband, when we were first dating, told me that he believed that all plants could be classified as either a fruit or a vegetable. After we were married, he told me he thought platypus were the size of golden retrievers. When he could not follow boxed cake mix instructions and did not know how to pump gas. She walked into a computer lab on campus and simply picked up a computer and walked home with it. She was living with me at the time, so I get home to find a very familiar-looking computer sitting on the kitchen table. She literally thought the computers were free for students. It took a bit of explaining to convince her that she stole the computer. I made her return the computer to the lab that night. She left it at the doorstep. She asked me if I could name all 52 states. So many. Denies the Holocaust. Put plastic pan in conventional oven. Didn't understand grocery shopping. His mom would load him up on trips home. My friends called me the weirdo magnet. When he suggested that we should have a shared banking account after only dating less than a month. No longer dating, but after homecoming in high school we went for pizza. She wanted to try a vegetarian diet, and as we were selecting toppings she looked at me. "Is there meat in mushrooms?" I half smiled thinking it was a joke. She just looked back expecting the answer. She would end almost every sentence with "you know what I mean," not as a question, but as a description for something missing. There were sentences like "is not an asshole," but his "you know what I mean, can you get me the thing?" The you know what I mean, yes I get it, but I don't get the you know what I mean, and so on. No. I didn't know what she meant, as most of the time there was hardly any context. Maybe she didn't either. My first ex thought Boston was a Canadian city.